We were on track for fossil fuel use to top out until AI came along. Now analysts and agencies are quietly revising their decarbonization goals downward. Gas and coal plants that were slated for retirement are being kept online. And now utilities are building more gas plants in the first half of 2024 than were built in all of 2020 combined. I don't know about you, but I can't seem to take a breath without swallowing 20 billion new AI-powered products. From cat pain detectors to smart toothbrushes to AI overviews on every internet search, serving up flaming heaps of unreliable guidance. I guess there's nothing left to do but welcome our new AI overlords. But between the plagiarism, projected job loss, the militaristic implications, the utter debauchery, and, oh yeah, right, the horrifying acceleration of climate apocalypse, I can't help but think, I don't remember asking for this. And okay, yeah, I'm sure we've all been able to save some time by making either overt or covert use of generative AI. But in late stage capitalism, where we all unfortunately find ourselves, the private and for profit approach to technological development means that major decisions around what tech we develop, how we develop it, the pace at which we develop it, and how it might be used are entirely undemocratic. Where is the debate? And the implications for the future of our society and the planet are tremendous. So while there are countless avenues that we could go down today, and I do want to spend time talking about the implications of AI for labor under capitalism at some point in the future, today we're going to focus on the very serious environmental concerns associated with generative AI that I don't see enough people talking about. And I want to shed light on this not simply to scare everyone, but to ask everyone seriously, what options do we have right now in the face of what have never been democratic decisions? How can we introduce important debate about this into the public sphere and organize to ensure that tech and AI development serve us and our collective future on this planet, and not just the pockets of the already rich? But first, I have an exciting offer for you all. My content has been part of Means TV for some time now, an exceptional platform for worker-owned media. The streaming service hosts my work along with other rad creators, full-length documentaries like Abby Martin's Gaza Fights for Freedom, and Means original content like Means Morning News, Seriously Wrong's Papa and Boy, and much more. I'm happy to share that I'm now able to offer viewers a discount on joining Means TV. If you sign up using my link and code, which is MEXI, you'll get 20% off your first month, which comes to $7.99, or you can go with the annual option and get 20% off the entire year. Signing up using my code not only directly contributes to the financial sustainability of the Means TV Cooperative Media Project, but it's also a great way to support this channel. So if you have the means, consider using this discount. The link and code are in the description box below. AI companies are exacerbating the climate crisis in at least 3 ways. Number 1, they are burning up our skies with the power needed for AI generation. Number 2, they are selling tools to help oil and gas companies accelerate fossil fuel extraction. And number 3, they are giving fossil fuel companies an excuse to build more power plants. So let's start with how our AI searches are burning up the skies. According to a report by Goldman Sachs, a ChatGPT search needs nearly 10 times as much electricity as a regular Google search. That was, of course, before Google began integrating AI overviews into nearly every Google search. As Avram Pilch has aptly put it, Google's AI Overviews feature is a raging trash fire that threatens to choke the open web with its stench. Instead of directing you to expert insights from reputable sources, Google is now putting plagiarized and often incorrect AI summaries above its search results. What could go wrong? If you are concerned that every Google search now requires significantly more energy, I have some good and bad news. Bad news is you can't officially turn AI overviews off, because democracy. All you can do is download a Chrome extension to hide them or spend time configuring your browser to only search the web. Instructions for that will be in the description box. But the good news is that you can abandon the giant altogether and move to other search engines that won't mine and sell your data. To understand why AI searches are so much more resource intensive, let's lay out what goes into every AI search. Devices and sensors are used to crawl the internet and capture data that will be used to generate content or outputs. Large server banks are needed to power and store the networks for communicating the data. The minerals to make these things need to be mined, which is often environmentally damaging and generates significant emissions. And they need extensive amounts of power and then fresh water to cool them since they generate a lot of heat. The biggest cost of energy goes into training the algorithms, and OpenAI has said that the energy used to train the average AI model will increase tenfold each year. These estimates are from the AI Index team, which concluded that a training run for even the most efficient of the models they ran, Bloom, emitted more carbon than the average US citizen consumes over a year. You can see that GPT-3, which isn't even the most advanced model, uses about 20 times more. The data from this graph was compiled in 2019, and the energy needed has only increased since then, but you can still see the problem. Keep in mind, many experts say we don't even have enough data yet to understand the full scope of the impact of AI. A, it's too early to fully grasp, but B, most companies working on AI don't disclose their emissions. But with the data that we do have and the estimates that researchers have been able to generate, we have more than enough cause for concern, and things are only projected to get worse unless there are significant changes to how the industry works. The 2024 Google Environmental Report, for example, states that the company's emissions are up 48% since 2019, primarily due to increases in data center energy consumption and supply chain emissions. The report reads, "As we further integrate AI into our products, reducing emissions may be challenging." Similarly, Microsoft's 2024 sustainability report says its emissions grew by 29% since 2020 due to the construction of more data centers that are designed and optimized to support AI workloads. Their sustainability report says the infrastructure and electricity needed for these technologies create new challenges for meeting sustainability commitments across the tech sector. Between the natural materials needed to create all of the physical assets and vast amounts of energy and water that are required all the way through, we really, as a society, should be asked whether rapid AI expansion is really what would serve us best in this historical moment. Brian Merchant suggests it should go without saying that amid an accelerating climate crisis, we do not need to increase our energy use tenfold so that every tech giant can compete to shoddily automate call center and illustration jobs, inundate search results with tips for how to eat rocks safely, and load up our social feeds with dubious deepfakes. I'll leave that to you to decide. A 2020 article in Nature said it's estimated that the carbon footprint of training a single big language model is equal to around 300,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide emissions, which is equal to 125 round trips between Beijing and New York. Goldman Sachs reported that AI is poised to drive an 160% increase in data center power demand, and The Guardian reported that by 2030, machine learning training and data storage could account for 3.5% of all global electricity consumption. Pre-AI revolution, data centers used up 1% of the world's electricity demand in any given year. Tech reporter Karen Howe suggests that AI is on track to demand as much energy as all of India. Others are even less optimistic, like Swedish researcher Anders Andra, who has forecast that data centers could account for 10% of total electricity use by 2025. So far, we've been talking about AI searches, but if you're doing something more involved, the impacts can be significantly greater. Ed Crooks of the international data and analytics firm Wood Mackenzie said if you're talking about creating an image with AI, that uses about 10,000 times the power as a simple Google search. In the US specifically, Goldman Sachs has researched the expected growth of data centers and estimates they'll be using 8% of total power in the country by 2030, up from 3% in 2022. Some argue that the energy demands of AI could lead to companies investing more heavily in renewable energy. Great, but if that energy is primarily owned by tech corporations and is directed entirely towards powering AI, are we really going to be making huge strides towards energy democracy and sustainability? You may have heard about Microsoft, Amazon, and Google scrambling to secure nuclear energy deals. In a highly publicized example, Microsoft has purchased the 3 Mile Island plant in Pennsylvania, infamous for being the site of the worst nuclear accident in U.S. history in 1979, although luckily the partial meltdown did not have substantial impacts on the health of local people. Nuclear energy is indeed a lower emission source of energy, but claims that it is zero emission are a bit misleading. The mining and refining of uranium requires energy, so emissions from new nuclear are 78 to 178 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour. Once up and running, the energy recovery time for a nuclear power plant is about 10 to 18 years. This means that a nuclear plant must operate for at least a decade before all the energy consumed to build and fuel the plant has been earned back and the power station begins to produce net energy. This is on top of the 10 to 19 years that it takes to plan and build the plant in the first place. By contrast, wind and solar take 2 to 5 years to develop, and wind power takes less than a year to produce net energy, while solar power takes less than 3 years. Given that we're already at 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming right now, we don't really have time for this. And that's aside from any other questions around safety, waste handling, weapons. But nuclear energy is more attractive to tech corporations because it can produce energy 24/7, unlike wind and solar that would require battery storage. But again, is this really the best use of any of these technologies? Oh, that was rhetorical. Nobody asked you. Plus, so far, the thirst for electricity for AI in America has reached such a fever pitch that plans to decommission several coal plants have been delayed. And a 2024 Bloomberg report states energy companies in the US are planning new natural gas-fired power generation at the fastest pace in years, one of the clearest signals yet that fossil fuels are likely to have a longer runway than previously thought. From Florida to Oregon, utilities are racing to meet a surge in demand in power-hungry AI data centers, manufacturing facilities, and electric vehicles. The staying power of gas, which in 2016 overtook coal as the #1 U.S. source of electricity, has surprised some experts who not so long ago had projected the era of frenzied domestic demand growth for the fuel might soon come to an end. A few years ago, there was the expectation that solar and wind would be able to solve our additional generation needs, said Jed Dorsheimer, group head of the energy and sustainability sector at investment bank William Blair, who now sees gas accounting for as much as 60% of new generation. There's been a call for peak oil and gas, and eventually those calls will be right. But not anytime soon. In Canada, natural gas drillers are already expressing optimism about what data center growth could mean for the future of their industry.
That's awesome.
So rather than ushering in a boom in renewable energy, for the foreseeable future, AI is giving oil and gas companies license to build more power plants. And this is on top of corporations like Microsoft, while boasting publicly about their leadership in sustainability, selling AI tools to oil and gas companies to help them accelerate fossil fuel extraction. So for those who argue that these tools could actually help to redress environmental impacts, okay, but that feels more than a little bit self-defeating in the model we now have. Alex Hanna, the director of research for Distributed AI Research Institute, said there's a lot of people out there that talk about existential risk around AI, about a rogue thing that somehow gets control of nuclear weapons or whatever. That's not the existential risk. We have an existential crisis right now. It's called climate change, and AI is palpably making it worse. On top of emissions, generative AI systems are sucking up our fresh water. AI consumes water for on-site server cooling and off-site electricity generation. On-site, the massive amounts of energy used to power servers generates a lot of heat, and they then have to be cooled down, which is often done with massive amounts of fresh water. Off-site, water is also needed to cool thermal power and nuclear plants, so especially as tech giants are buying plants themselves for the express purpose of powering AI, AI is therefore responsible for additional off-site cooling as well. It's estimated that for every 20 to 40 questions asked, ChatGPT requires 500 milliliters or a standard bottle of water. As a result, Microsoft saw its water use jump by 34% between 2021 and 2022 to nearly 1.7 billion gallons, or more than 2,500 Olympic-sized pools. Researchers at Cornell say AI could be responsible for 4.2 to 6.6 billion cubic meters of water withdrawal in 2027, more than 4 times the annual withdrawal of Denmark. Again, as water scarcity becomes an ever-increasing problem, and one that is already sparking geopolitical tensions, is the rapid and utterly undemocratic expansion of AI the best use of our water resources? So I keep coming back to, I'm sorry, did we ask for this? I didn't, did you? Did we get to talk about this before it was just unilaterally unleashed upon us? I've always been ecologically minded and I've always wanted to do whatever I could to change the political economic systems that are driving inequality and environmental disaster. So I'm not saying that it takes a parent to care about these things. Everyone cares about these things. But as someone who has a now almost 2-year-old and who will be giving birth again next month, it feels heavy. It feels very heavy. Thinking about the next generation, it just boils my blood knowing that even 5 years ago, we were confident that wind and solar could meet our current energy demand. Now, in the West, I think we grossly overconsume, and there's a lot of very simple ways that we could reduce that. But in the span of just a few years, we're being set back so dramatically because a handful of rich dudes are able to just make these monumental decisions about the future of tech and power generation without us. In our frustratingly privatized and for-profit economic landscape, these pivotal decisions on top of what this tech will be able to be used for are predominantly being made by the people who are most out of touch with working class concerns and realities. So, job loss? Deal with it. Climate change? Whatever. It's worth it. Trust us. Well, these are the people we're trusting. Sam Altman, founder of OpenAI, said that without a return to economic growth, the democratic experiment will fail. If it does, though, he will be ready. He said, "I try not to think about it too much, but I have guns, gold, potassium iodide, antibiotics, batteries, water, gas masks from the Israel Defense Forces, and a big patch of land in Big Sur I can fly to." So rest assured, everyone, we're in good hands. While a lot of people argue that AI is mostly smoke and mirrors, there are still people thinking about AI sentience in the future, which the late Stephen Hawking warned about. I remember people posing ethical questions a few years back about whether, if AI achieved sentience, they should be granted equal rights. This was presented as a really interesting, nuanced question to ponder. I found it utterly inane and offensive. One, because sure, fine. I mean, it's actually not that interesting a question, but I'm sorry, many people today do not enjoy equal rights. Structural inequalities abound, and the earth has been careening towards a cliff for some time now. And there are an infinite number of ways that we can use the resources that we have to address these things. But no, a small handful of rich, deluded tech bros are going to just forge ahead with whatever they want without asking us, and then not only force us to bear the consequences, but also into these tedious, useless conversations about hypotheticals. My soul is just leaving my body, you guys. What timeline am I in? And the thing is, in late-stage capitalism, where we are all under a ton of pressure, inflation is running wild thanks to unchecked corporate greed. People are hustling to make money, needing at least one side gig. So a lot of people don't really have the time or the capacity to not use these tools, especially if they're a person with a disability. On top of that, many corporations are now either directly integrating these tools into their workplaces or are simply expecting that their workers are using the tools, meaning that workers are expected to produce work in shorter and shorter timeframes. So there is a lot of structural pressure to integrate AI into every aspect of our lives. So even if you are someone who is conscious and who is concerned about this, you may not be able to limit your use of AI as much as you would like to. So just like every other major driver of climate change, simply encouraging individual restraint will not be enough. I haven't seen many environmental organizations locally really taking this on yet, but I absolutely think this should be a focus of activism going forward. Tech corporations cannot be left unregulated to this extent, and we cannot afford to not have a say in these major decisions. It is much harder to decommission plants once they've already been built than it is to prevent them from being built in the first place. So the time to be mobilizing around this is now. I will leave you with this powerful quote from Brian Merchant from Blood in the Machine. "It's darkly ironic that AI is being pitched as essential to the future when it is breathing life into some of the most pollutive technologies of our past." Thank you to the patrons who make my work possible. You can support via Patreon and also by making use of my discount code with Means TV. The links are in the description box below.